With A-Day coming up, do you think one of the other quarterbacks could make a move?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and thank you for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the absolute best. Jimmy, A-Day's coming up, and, I just noticed it. I'm bringing this up because I noticed it in the comments of the last podcast. A lot of people are saying, hey, they think Ty Simpson's going to make a move for that number one spot in this A-Day game. Look, number one, I don't think he would make a move in the A-Day game because I don't think the A-Day game is going to be the ultimate deciding factor. But maybe there are people that think he's made a move in spring practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would be among those people. But when we say make a move, all I mean by it is he's putting himself in the circumstance of which the coaches trust him. They'll trust him, and they like him, and they think he would do well. That's the position that I think he's put himself in. I firmly believe today, as we record this today, Jalen Milroe is Alabama's starting quarterback, and I will be shocked to some extent if Jalen Milroe is not the starting quarterback against Western Kentucky. And I suspect that Jalen Milroe will do well. I mean, all of that. But at the same time, that doesn't have anything to do with how good Ty Simpson is. I mean, I think Ty Simpson is going to prove on A-Day that he is also ready to be a starting quarterback in this league and to be a starting quarterback at Alabama. And to me, that's a big storyline for Saturday is Ty Simpson not pushing Jalen Milroe to be the starting quarterback at Alabama, but proving to his coaches and to the fans that, hey, last year I was a redshirt freshman, but now I'm a redshirt sophomore and I'm ready. And this is not a problem. One of the things that it's got me forever about quarterback controversies, if you want to call them that, the problem isn't when you've got two guys that are good. The problem is when you have zero that are good. That's a problem. It has to be handled when you've got two guys that are good enough to play and start, and Kalen DeBoer will handle it. Just like I think Nick Saban handled things expertly at Alabama when there was more than one good quarterback. I think Kalen DeBoer will handle it as well. But I do think that Saturday will be big for showing the world that Alabama's got two and not just one. I mean, last year it was zero until Milroe became what he became. Alabama had zero. This year, I think they got two. And then I think they got two other guys that are going to be good in the future. They're probably close. Based on what I hear, I'm just going to, I'm going to say Austin Mack and Dylan Lonergan are both about a year away. And I think if all these guys are back, the next spring I'll be saying they have four. But right now they got two and two in the bullpen, I guess you'd say, or two in the incubator.
I guess one thing that could happen, just playing devil's advocate here, that if Ty Simpson were to look fantastic in A-Day, he might get some calls about, hey, why don't you portal over here?
Oh, no doubt. I think that's coming. Regardless, and I think there's been a lot of other schools in his have slid into his DMs, and that's only going to increase with a good A-Day. And he may. And look, there's no way to predict that. I think it'll be a common, hey, next Monday is portal day. It's going to be a common subject for people to discuss. What about the QB room? Who's leaving? People have a hard time believing all four will still be here in the fall. I wish I could sit here and tell you guys what's going to happen. I don't know. I mean, me and Luke, we're sort of plugged in. I don't know. I don't know that the kids know right now. So there's no way to know that, but it could happen. The one thing I will say, based on what my knowledge is, I don't anticipate any of the four leaving. Like, I'm not going to predict that Ty is going to leave, nor Dylan Lonergan. Austin Mack just got here. It'd be kind of crazy for him to leave. Milroe's a starter. He's not going anywhere. So it'd really be, in my mind, Ty and Dylan that would be the principal candidates. I'm not going to predict either one is going to leave. Matter of fact, my prediction is that both stay, but am I going to be surprised? Of course not. You'd be crazy to be surprised. I mean, this is 2024. The portal's going to be insanity. I think the first day, this is a short portal, guy. This is the 2-week portal. You only got 2 weeks to enter this time. It's going to be a mad rush those first couple of days because kids want to get in the portal and make a decision because they want to be enrolled and practicing and meeting their new teammates June 1st when the summer workouts start. That's not official practice, but it's sort of, nobody goes home in the summer. It ain't the old days. They're all working together as a team during the summer. So the portal is going to be a mad rush. And would Ty and Dylan be in it? You'd be crazy to say no way, yes way. But a prediction, if y'all want one today, is I think all four quarterbacks will be with the team in the fall.
All right, Jimmy, explain this about the portal to me because I'm still
sure.
Man, I know it's rather ambiguous overall, but so people are getting in the portal now. Chris Parker from Alabama basketball got in the portal yesterday, but he just can't go somewhere right now. Is the portal just you're in the portal and in limbo until?
No, there's different portals for different sports and different timing for different sports. So the basketball portal is open. Anybody can enter the basketball portal today and go. The football portal opens Monday. And when I say football portal, technically, for those that will know, and I think people listen to the show would like to, technically the different portal periods are for when your sport happens. NCAA has fall sports, winter sports, and spring sports. Football is a fall sport. Basketball is considered a winter sport. The fall sport portal opens, so it's for all fall sports. At Alabama, that's football, volleyball, and soccer, I think, are the fall sports. Winter sports are like basketball, gymnastics. They have a different portal time. So basketball portal opened, I think, right after the selection show. The day after the NCAA selection show is when the portal opened for basketball and remained open for 45 days. This is a second portal for football, and it is only open for 2 weeks, starting April 15th, and I think midnight, April 15th. And although the portal doesn't open until midnight, there will be stories all day long Monday of so-and-so plans to enter the portal. That will be the stories on Monday. And will there be Alabama players entering the portal? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would bet, and I don't have a name for you, but I would bet large sums of money that Alabama football players will enter the portal and Alabama will recruit players out of the portal. If y'all want a numbers guess, I don't know. I'm going to say about 5 in and 3 or 4 out, meaning that about 5 Alabama players in the portal, then Alabama will sign 3 or 4.
All right, so
ballpark guess.
Josh Pate did make allusions to the fact that, hey, it's going to be a wild ride for a lot of teams, and he has also intimated that Alabama will be one of those. But he also seemed to make it seem like Alabama's going to benefit more than be devastated.
There's a lot of wild rumors out there, and trust me, I can't sit here and tell you guys every rumor I hear because I would sit here and tell you guys a bunch of stuff that would never prove true. Only going to talk about stuff that we really feel has happened. But I do hear wild rumors about what I would call college football household names transferring to Alabama in the spring portal. Do I believe it? Possible. I don't disbelieve it, but I don't believe it enough to tell you, hey, this is going to happen, because it's just the stories that are out there. And I'm sure Josh Pate hears more than I do, maybe even about Alabama and his position. But, I'm not criticizing Josh. I love Josh. I think he's one of the best commentators out there. But his statement about how this portal is going to be crazy, well, yeah, it is. Of course it is. He's not going to be wrong. Yeah, it is. I mean, period.
All right, Jimmy, let me tell everybody about Gametime. Boy, I love me some Gametime. I've used it all the time. It's fantastic. Go to Gametime, download the app, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. That you can't beat that because the prices are already so low. You may be getting money back. You won't, but you could be. and you won't. So go to Gametime, download that app. You will love it. It's so easy to use. You can see where your seats are going to be. They have guarantees that the prices go down closer to tip off or closer to first pitch or whatever. And you will absolutely love it. Look, I use it all the time. I've told you, I've used it for a World Series game. I've used it for college football. I've used it for college basketball. I've used it for NFL football. I just love using it. It is so easy. It's been the easiest ticketing service for me, and I've used them all. So I'm telling you, I love it. It's fantastic. We're so appreciative to have them as a sponsor. Please go to Gametime, download that app, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Okay, so you mentioned something about, hey, you don't want to say too many things about certain subjects because you don't know all the answers. Well, that leads us right into this Kalen DeBoer, Tybo Rogers situation. And I'm going to read this from the Tuscaloosa News, which says Washington running back Tybo Rogers has been arrested and charged on 2 counts of rape that are alleged to have occurred in October and November of 2023. He was not arrested, by the way, until April 5th and released on bond April 6th. Now, it is true Kalen DeBoer was the coach. We don't know what was known. And again, he wasn't even arrested until April 5th. I'm not saying this isn't serious. I'm not saying that this is something that was made up and we shouldn't believe the victim or any of that. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is can we at least let some facts come out and let's see how what develops here? The kid was suspended for the Pac-12 championship game. And then it sounds as though they maybe thought, okay, maybe he was suspended because they were like, you shouldn't be even in this position. And then they reinstated him, but he barely played. I mean, he played a little bit in both the championship game and the semifinal game. And if this kid is guilty, my bet is Kalen DeBoer didn't have all the information to be able to make a concrete decision one way or the other. And there are going to be people out there say, well, as soon as it's alleged, he should be suspended. I don't know about that. I mean, is that really fair? Because couldn't anybody just allege anybody of anything and then you're suspended? I mean, again, I'm just saying everybody is rushing to judgment so quickly. I mean, I had somebody yesterday, I played basketball at Lifetime, and somebody that's a friend of mine and said, man, this Kalen DeBoer thing's getting spicy, isn't it? I said, well, is it? I mean, really? I mean, I guess people when you hear the word rape, and it is a horrible word, just saying it makes you feel dirty. But it's also important to say we do have to see if he's innocent or guilty. And we don't know that yet. And he wasn't even arrested until this month. Kalen DeBoer has been here 3 months. I mean, let's chill out. And let's see what comes to light. Now, if it turns out Kalen DeBoer knew more and he covered something up or he just brushed it under the rug or whatever, that's one thing. But my guess is he didn't have all the information. Apparently, the cops didn't have all the information. They couldn't arrest him until this month. So I'm not trying to say it's nothing, but I'm also trying to say I don't think everybody should just be convicted in the court of public opinion just yet.
Well, there's a lot of facts that are unknown, a whole bunch. But here's one thing that we've been able to dig up a little bit, or that seems clear. Washington very smartly, and I've said this from the very start about this situation, when there's an allegation that's this serious, it's not football that makes any decisions. It's the president's office and it's the athletic director. It's over the football coach's head. I mean, even at Alabama with the Brandon Miller and Darius Miles situation, that's not 100%. Well, Nate, what are we going to do? No, that's the president, because the whole country is watching Alabama's response here. Now Nate's obviously going to have a lot of input, but I'm just saying that it's the president's decision. Now, Washington goes even further, and give them a lot of credit here. Washington has a third-party watchdog group that is employed by the university specifically for situations such as this. So when the victim made a complaint to the University of Washington, not football. She didn't call Kalen DeBoer. A complaint was made to the University of Washington that was forwarded to their Title IX office, which is standard procedure for every university in the country. So it's not a football matter at that point. It's the university's matter. And the university turns it over to this watchdog group, and the watchdog group investigates, and they look into it, and they determine whether a player should be eligible to play or not. So I don't even know. We're going to find out as time goes, and who knows, Kalen DeBoer meets with the media today. I would imagine he's going to be asked about this today in the press conference after practice. I'm guessing he might refer it to, hey, there's a watchdog group, and they look at this and they determine whether a player is once a player is determined to be eligible to play, then he's eligible to play. But it's not my call, and it could be that situation. But again, I'm part speculating, but part informing y'all that there is a third party involved, a watchdog group that specifically is in place so the sports coaches don't play someone who shouldn't be playing. That's why this group is there, and they're not related to the university or Washington football. They're a third party outside of it that helps handle these situations.
Yeah, and again, it's so difficult because, I mean, as soon as anything comes up about rape, I think that people just immediately, they want to, it's pitchforks and torches. And I get it because it's horrible. And I have 2 daughters, and boy, I would lose my mind. So I get it. At the same time, we have to keep our emotions in check about this sometimes, because I mean, look, we've seen instances where stories get recanted, and it was
the first facts are always wrong. And this isn't the Duke lacrosse case, but it just immediately comes to mind. How many of us out there listening that were old enough to remember the Duke lacrosse case jumped to the worst conclusion right off the bat? And boy, did that prove terribly wrong. And that's exactly why even Darius Miles, I mean, when this happened, me and Luke here on the show, I mean, we're like, wait for facts. And people might not remember so clearly now, but in terms of what we consider the facts today versus what we thought within the first 24 hours of the story breaking, which, by the way, didn't include Brandon Miller, publicly. I'm just saying, wait, you got to wait. People that jump to the conclusions are going to jump to the wrong conclusions in one direction or the other.
Well, and also the other thing that people are going to do is associate Kalen DeBoer. I've seen this before. He's enabling rape. That's what they've said. I mean, what is wrong with people? And again, take your college affiliation glasses off. Look, if you have a player and they are accused of something by somebody, of course you take that seriously. But I mean, look, if everybody that ever said anything about any employee we ever had, and I just fired them based on, hey, they said you did this, you're fired. Well, that's not what happened. I'm sorry. They said it, and I don't have any facts, but that's what I got to do. It's not the right thing to do.
An accusation isn't enough. The accusation isn't enough. There has to be. But now, one point that I will make, I don't believe, my own personal opinion, and I think most of y'all will agree with this, a player doesn't have to be convicted of a crime to be removed from the team. You don't have a legal right to play on a team. You can be removed for things that have nothing to do with violating the law, So I'm not saying, I'm never going to take the position a player must be found guilty before he's removed. I don't believe that. But Luke is exactly right. There has to be a little more than an accusation. The accusation does not equal immediate expulsion. There has to be, what if the kid's like, during that entire month, I was in Europe with my family, and here's the receipts that show I was in Bulgaria during that month. I mean, I'm just saying there has to be something beyond the accusation. But I know we take it seriously, and I'm sure you, Kalen DeBoer, does, who, like Luke, has 2 daughters, has daughters, and I'm sure Kalen DeBoer takes it super seriously. But I think we're going to find out when he does address it that he's going to talk about, hey, this is sort of out of my hands, and I'm just told a player's when something like this happens, I'm told a player can play or he cannot, and I don't get involved.
And it's so funny because there'll be a group of people that are like, well, before all this, they're like, coaches just can't be counted on to do anything responsible. So we need to put this in the hands of a watchdog group. They need to tell them what to do. And then you're like, okay. So the coaches say, they told me he could play. That's not enough. You should do something.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're going to hear in this case from some people that are either Washington fans angry that DeBoer left, or just people that don't like Alabama. That's what we're going to hear. And they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, the people that defend Alabama, y'all are going to defend him no matter what. That's not true. That's not true, because I wouldn't defend Kalen DeBoer if I was told that Kalen DeBoer was approached and said, one of your players likely raped someone, and Kalen DeBoer said, I don't care, he's going to play on Saturday. I wouldn't defend that.
And obviously, he didn't do that anyway.
If those are the facts, I won't defend it.
No, there's no way you can defend it. All right. I'm going to tell everybody about FanDuel as soon as I find this overlay. All right, FanDuel, man. We love FanDuel over here. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 whether you win or whether you lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, it's secure, and it's easy to use. What are you waiting for? What are you listening to me for? Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon, FanDuel.com/lockedon, and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. So some recruiting talk now, Jimmy. First of all, there's at least a rumor, and this is supported by Trilly Donovan out of Twitter. He said it was going to happen. Now it might not. It's probably going to happen. That Ballo kid, the center from Arizona, that had a pretty good game against us, if I remember right. He's going to be visiting Alabama. He's in the transfer portal. We would love to get a center like that, I'm sure. There's certainly other ones out there. Meanwhile, Kentucky still didn't have a coach. Scott Drew has apparently turned them down. I'm very, very confident Nate Oates is staying. I believe that 100%. I wonder if they circle back to him. That does concern me a little, but not a lot. I think Nate Oates is here for the long haul. I think it'd be absolutely hilarious if they went after Bruce Pearl, and they could do a lot worse than Bruce Pearl, frankly. But the real thing I wanted to get into was recruiting, and Alabama is now being predicted to land a wide receiver from New Jersey who has some jets, man. Lotzier Brooks. Am I saying that wrong? Lotzier Brooks or Lotzier?
I'm nervous to say it, so I don't know.
Lotzeir Brooks.
Okay.
I don't know.
Brooks. Like kid Brooks.
Yeah, we'll call him
fast kid Brooks. The fast kid
and
Brooks.
He's sort of a Marquise Mazie kind of looking dude to me.
I like that. We'll see. I mean, obviously, crystal balls, RPMs, big deals for sure. Recruiting is going extremely well. There's so many big name kids that are visiting this weekend for A-Day, and even more. I'd watch a tight end from Texas, Nick Thornton. I think that kid might be climbing to the top of the tight end board. That's something to see. Andrew Bones talked about him quite a bit on BOL. Michael Carroll's going to visit this weekend. He's one of the best offensive linemen in the country. The Brooks kid from New Jersey might be a lean to Alabama here. Quarterback situation continues to be interesting. Juju Lewis going to visit Georgia. I think if he doesn't follow through with his commitment to Southern Cal, I think he would choose Alabama over Georgia. That's what I believe if he doesn't follow through on his commitment to Southern Cal. But it's certainly interesting that he's going to G-Day and not A-Day. That's interesting. Does it mean anything? No. We even looked at previous A-Days, and a lot of high-profile kids that signed with Alabama went to other schools' A-Days or spring games. It's not definitive of anything, but it's certainly interesting. Can't ignore it. Juju Lewis has also been to Alabama about 58 times. So the fact that he's not here on one particular weekend means very little, I think. But Juju Lewis and the quarterback situation remains interesting. Also, the quarterback committed to SMU, Keelan Russell. That's a name for everybody to keep in mind. So a lot of interesting stuff happened recruiting. BOL is going to have a great list. Luke and I will go over it more in detail, I think, on the next show about who's visiting for the game Saturday, because that list is still sort of ongoing. Saw just before I came on, Xavier Kroll might be the best young running back prospect in the state of Alabama. He's going to visit this weekend. And Alabama just offered his teammate from Jackson, Alabama, in Juice Gordon, who's a wide receiver, defensive back type prospect with a pretty sexy offer list for a 2026 kid. Juice Gordon offered by Alabama this week. And again, he's teammates with 2027 running back Xavier Kroll, who I thought last year was probably the best ninth grader in Alabama, which is saying a lot because Trent Seaborn was a ninth grader in Alabama. Yeah. And Trent's up there too. But Kroll is he looks like a future 5-star running back.
And just to end on an interesting note to me, a couple of in-state thoughts. First of all, I think it's Cadre Smith that
Cardi Smith.
Auburn.
Cardi Smith. I think Cardi Smith. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if Alabama had a lot of interest there, but I just find it interesting that, they go get an offensive lineman from Mobile, national top 250 guy. Then Alvin Henderson out of Elbow will be committing today, we think. I mean, he is been very difficult to pin down. It sounds like it's going to be Auburn or Penn State, and it really sounds like it's going to be Penn State. And then Zion Grady is getting all these predictions to go to Miami.
Yeah.
Interesting.
One thing about Zion, I hate saying this out loud because this could prove wrong, but one thing I'm going to look at, front seven guys, it's all about fit. It's about fit in terms of the scheme that you're running. Alabama ran into that issue a lot, particularly with defensive linemen, but it's all about fit. And I think if you look at what Alabama wants in a bandit, I don't know that Zion Grady is ever going to be big enough to do that. And I mean, I guess at Alabama, the question is he a bandit or is he a wolf? And it's kind of hard to convince yourself that he's either one. And I'm wondering about the schematic fit. If they look at him and they're like, God, what good player, but what position is he a clear fit? And in the old staff, he was clearly a jack, but the old staff had a different scheme. I mean, this is what happens when you change from one scheme to another. And I'm not saying that's the situation with Zion, but it just feels that way to me a little bit in terms of why he was such a high priority for the previous staff. Hadn't been quite the priority yet, but I'm sure the new staff would love to have him in camp. And man, if we get him in camp, we'd have a much better idea of bandit or wolf with him.
All right, that's going to do it for today's podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.